Well, hello, would you look at this? We're back, Nolan, we're back.
We are back, and it's miserable outside. It just started raining.
Oh, that's... I don't know. Is that a sign? It's probably a sign. Maybe it's not a sign. Who knows? This country's full of misery.
I prefer this kind of weather, to be honest. It's more relaxing.
Is it, though?
I hate summer.
Yeah, well, it would be impossible to hate the summer I've had.
Of course it wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't. You LA trotting motherfucker.
Yes, that's about right. That's why, that's why we've been gone for so long. This is It's a Wonderful Podcast, by the way, in case you weren't aware. I am Morgan Robinson. That is Nolan Dean on the other side of the screen, because he's never actually here. Although we'll get on to something about that soon. Yeah, we're back after 2 months-ish.
So, have you kept in touch with your best friends, Steven Spielberg, John Carpenter, and, all those guys?
Do you assume that I now know John Carpenter?
Well, I would hope so, because then you could get him on the show in time for the new Halloween coming out, and wouldn't that be a great Halloween episode?
Yeah, it would. Objectively, it would be a very good episode, yes. But no John Carpenter is being involved with this show just yet. Not just yet. Who's to say what will happen?
Maybe we will end up doing an episode on the original thing, and John Carpenter will happen to want to come on it. That's never going to happen, but we can dream.
We can't. It's good to dream. It's good to dream. It's good to be happy.
You seem very happy.
I am very happy. I'm generally very happy.
You're so happy you're wearing a hat and you look like the kid from Recess if he grew up.
Oh, for God's sake.
Mind you, I can't talk. I've got some ridiculous mustache going on.
I mean, you have. What is all this about?
I don't know. It was a beard before, but then I figured, fuck it. But I wanted some facial hair so I don't look like an infant.
But why just a mustache?
I don't know.
I know why. I know why you've gone just a mustache.
Why is that?
It's because you've been getting excited for Bohemian Rhapsody, haven't you?
That might have something to do with it.
That's absolutely all to do with it.
Well, when I was texting my dad the other day and on Skype with him, he said, "Has Freddie Mercury entered the flat?"
You do actually. You don't look not like Freddie Mercury.
That's huge shoes to fill.
Well, looking like Freddie Mercury, maybe being like Freddie Mercury, but you've not got the teeth situation.
That's probably a good thing, yeah.
Which is a good thing.
I paid a lot for retainers and braces, so I wouldn't want to have Freddie Mercury's teeth.
Yeah, but you certainly have the mustache situation right now, which I'm sure everyone's really disappointed that this is just an audio show.
I'm sure they are, yeah. But I'll post a lot of selfies later.
All the selfies, all the It's a Wonderful One selfies. But yes, after however long that has been of just talking nonsense, this is It's a Wonderful Podcast. We are on episode 22. 22, yay! We haven't stopped at 21.
Good.
We haven't. We didn't stop. No.
So our podcast gets a chance to grow up, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. It is now in its adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It's full adulthood.
Once it gets to 100, does it get a special guest from the Queen or something?
You want the Queen?
I would like to have the Queen on this show, yeah. It's
not possible, really, is it, though?
We could ask Raoul. I'm pretty sure he's married to her.
Raoul would love to be royalty.
Oh, of course
I'm certain of that. I'm certain of that. But no, episode 22. Today, we're bringing it back with a really appropriate movie for me that has just come back from 2 months of endless happiness in LA, I decided to choose the most grim depiction of LA that old movies have to offer, with Sunset Boulevard.
I kind of love that you picked Sunset Boulevard, and you probably can guess why.
Well, I mean, I probably can, but why don't you just say?
Well, I'm a writer, and I
You
know
are?
what it's like to pitch stuff that never gets picked up, and to feel that frustration. So when I see that the main character of this is a unsuccessful screenwriter, I immediately relate to it.
Yep. It's a fair point. No, I love Sunset Boulevard, and it's more so for its just sort of thematic qualities rather than anything else. There's no overly elaborate story. It's just basically you have, 3 or 4 characters, and they're just all very, very intriguing in their own ways. No one's a good person, no one's a bad person, which is what I always like.
It's very shades of grey, which is good for a noir film.
It's... I don't know what Billy Wilder was thinking in 1950. Maybe he was a bit sick of Hollywood, so he decided to make a film about the evils. Not necessarily evils, but just sort of the way the place can damage a person.
Well, someone like Billy Wilder, who had like a lot of critical acclaim back then, probably would feel like that. Like, how do you go from being a critically acclaimed director and still have a good streak?
Yeah, well, that's a fair point, I suppose.
I mean, it can just take one bad movie for a director who's loved to become hated.
Do you have an example? I feel like that was said with an example in mind.
I can think of a few examples. Why am I immediately thinking of Josh Trank?
Well, it's fine if you don't. I'm just saying that the way you sounded, like the way you worded that, made it sound like you had an example in mind.
Well,
But if you don't, then it's
a lot of
fine.
the big ones go through that, like Spielberg, Cameron, all your classics, but even recently, like Paul Feig, who was quite loved until he did Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Anyway, I don't think Billy Wilder ever made a bad movie, and Sunset Boulevard is probably one of his best.
Definitely.
It's definitely one of his darker ones, though.
And not,
especially considering...
not just tone, like, it's a black and white film, so it is quite dark.
Yeah, I suppose it's literally dark. And very, very figuratively dark as well. But the other Billy Wilder film we did recently was Some Like It Hot.
It's a very different vibe in this one than Some Like It Hot.
Which is insane, considering Some Like It Hot is really fun and flappy about. And Sunset Boulevard is just grim.
I'm curious as to why, if you had such a great time in LA, why is this the one you choose to come back to?
Because I thought it was funny.
Of course you did.
I thought it would be funny.
Of course you did.
To pick a movie where LA is just shown as a place that kills people inside, when it couldn't, it's done the complete opposite for me. I don't know why that's funny. People judge me.
That's a very Morgan Robinson thing to do.
It probably is. That's probably true. But no, I going back to this sort of idea of no one's a good person, no one's a bad person. Watching it again, that really came across to me in that, like, it would be easy to see this first off as Norma Desmond is just stuck in the past and she needs to get out of it, and it's, destroying her. But looking at it sort of, when I watched it today, it feels like, well, she was happy like that to a point.
Mm-hmm.
yes, sometimes she'd have these little moments of depression or suicidal thoughts or whatnot. But that was when she realised that she wasn't a huge movie star anymore. But I think, for the times when she kept telling herself she was always happy. And, live your life happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I see anyway. I think I acknowledge Norma Desmond's way of thinking more so this time watching than I did the last time I saw it.
I can definitely see that, and there's this thing in it that kind of struck with me because it's something I really disagree with.
Okay.
It's near the beginning, the studio person, whatever her name was, says like,
Betty.
Betty, yeah, I prefer a story to say something rather than just exist. That's something I agree with.
Yeah.
So even though I relate to loving something so much, but that not having people appreciating it, I do also kind of agree with the notion that a story does kind of have to say something.
Yeah, I mean, a story for being a story. I mean, you could get onto like some sort of discussion about fantasy storytelling right now. Because
Which it does play
a
with.
fantasy story is a story for the sole purpose of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But within the good fantasy stories, there's always a lot of messages about whether it's human existence, whether it's life, whether it's the way the world works, relationships, whatever it is. They're always saying something. A story for a story's sake, nobody remembers.
Yeah, I can't think of any example where a story has just existed to be a story.
Because it doesn't make sense like that. That's why this whatever weird baseball movie he was writing, William Holden was writing, was just... It wasn't going anywhere.
But that
it was
could,
just like,
that
let's just have a movie for being a movie.
That could come into a sense like maybe you've written for so long that you kind of don't know what it's about to say, but you're still kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, I think that's very much on William Holden, on John's mind. John? I'm pretty sure he's called John. Yeah. His mind, because you see right from the start he is grinding out these stories.
Which is not a good way to work.
It's not. It's absolutely not a good way to work. And it's why, at the start, he is very down on himself and he's feeling very unsuccessful because he can't sell any of these stories to anyone, despite the fact that he may know someone at Paramount. But it doesn't go anywhere because his stories aren't that good, because he's got no passion for his stories anymore. Once we find a story that he has got passion about, look how much better that writing process was for him.
Yeah, because once you immediately connect to something, it becomes easier.
Exactly. When he ends up living with Norma Desmond and is so fascinated by her and whatnot that it sort of inspires him and Betty to co-write this love story that they write, then that's a lot more... he's being a bit shady about it because he's not telling Norma or Max or whoever where he's going because he doesn't want Norma to get... He wants to keep Norma happy. And if you tell Norma the truth too much, she won't be happy and she'll end up killing herself.
Yeah,
literally.
She's quite a fragile character.
So, but he when he is writing, you can tell he is happy. So it definitely says something about, don't grind out work. Work on something you truly care about, or do something you truly care about, because not only will you have a better time doing it, but it will likely be a more successful venture.
I can speak to that as well. Like, you see a lot of writers now who are trying to kind of emulate the stories they love, but in doing that, it becomes this kind of like mishmash of different stories and not really having an identity of its own. I see that a lot in the writing world, and like they even address that in the movie. Like, it sounds like this baseball thing sounds like Plot 27A, but more glamorized.
Yeah.
So, I completely get where the studio was coming from, even though that studio guy is the fucking worst.
Well, he's an old-timey studio guy.
Why don't we do it as a musical? I'm like, fuck
Put a few numbers in it. Make it a girls' team. Put a few numbers in it. Make it a musical. Yeah.
And literally, he's smoking a cigar, and I think he was drinking scotch.
Of course he's smoking a cigar. Of course he is. But the thing is, this movie was made in 1949, it released in 1950. So that's just an accurate depiction of what people were like. This isn't some sort of caricature. This is real.
Yeah.
You
people are
Billy
still
Wilde,
like, I think.
Do people still smoke cigars? I feel like less and less people smoke cigars.
No, but they definitely have vape pens.
They definitely have vape pens. You do have a vape pen. I don't have a vape pen.
Well, that's because you have never had the misfortune of smoking cigarettes.
No, that's true. That is true.
You seem like a guy who would smoke a cigar.
Yeah. I'm fancy enough.
Just like with a glass of whiskey or something.
Yeah, exactly. Does that not sound perfect?
That does. That does sound.
Does that not
perfect.
sound like a legitimately good way to spend an evening?
Yeah,
Just to me.
The thing I loved
out.
about Sunset Boulevard, because it was the first time I saw it.
The street or the movie?
The movie. I've not seen the
movie.
street because, unlike you, I've not been to fucking LA.
Street's pretty long. pretty long street.
I love that when they're writing this thing that they're very passionate about, the story kind of becomes more glamorous. And I'm talking about the story of Sunset Boulevard, almost as if it's like they're living in a fantasy world, and that could relate a lot to Norma Desmond's character, and especially this writer guy who's like, oh, now I finally have the recognition I want, I'm going to live it up, even if it means I'm a cocky prick.
Yeah, that's LA. There's a bit of that in LA.
Have you become cocky?
No, I'm just saying, like, as wonderful a time as I had in LA, and as wonderful everyone was that I met, there's the hint of, like, oh, I've made it now. Well, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Tiny little hint of that, and that's played up very much in.
Which brings us on to the announcement. Morgan is replacing me with some guy he met in LA.
I'm not.
He doesn't need me anymore.
I'm not replacing you with anyone. Why would I replace you with anyone? Who would I even replace you with? Let's think about that one for a minute.
Shrek.
I want. No. Yeah. Okay. Replace you with Shrek. I actually watched Shrek whilst I was in LA.
That's I had to find some way to get the Shrek reference in there.
I think it's the first time. I think that. Do you know what? I think that's the first time I've watched Shrek since we even started doing this show. And I was just, let's put Shrek on. It's fine. Shrek's great.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful movie. It's so great. Anyway, I'm not. Who would I replace you with? I'm not going to replace you with anyone. Maybe get more people in.
But not replace me.
Not replace you.
Yeah.
Never replace you. You're on the T-shirt, for God's sake.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to do that now, unless you find another guy with dark hair and a mustache.
It literally says Nolan Dean on it.
That's true. That's true.
It's you. It's no one else. It can be no one else. It has to be you. Speaking of t-shirts, go and buy the t-shirts, because we are back now. And better than ever. Back better and more episodes than ever. Yay.
If you want to have a t-shirt with our faces on it, then that's possible now.
Yeah, it is. Where can they go to find that? Do you know where they can go to find that?
I believe on Janine the Machine's TeePublic store.
On tpublic.com/G9design. The link is in every description of everywhere this show can be found. Yay! It's a wonderful design. I have a t-shirt. Do you have a t-shirt?
I am
We all
saving
should
for a
have a
t-shirt.
t-shirt. Saving for a t-shirt. You don't only have to just buy t-shirts. You can buy anything on TeePublic. Just have our faces on it. It's very nice. That was a sigh of just disappointment.
Because we just like veered so far off. I've missed doing this.
You know I like veering. Veering is what we do best. Not talking about Sunset Boulevard anymore. Just talking about Sunset Boulevard, the street, by the way, varies so much depending on where you are on it.
Is there a Starbucks on it?
Is the there's probably about 400 Starbucks. Sunset Boulevard is a absurdly long road.
Oh God, it sounds more like a highway than a road.
It literally covers full. I don't know where it starts. I don't even know where it ends.
Maybe it has no end.
It's a long road.
It's a long continuous road of stuff, just
Sunset
like the
Boulevard,
emotions in this movie.
Sunset Boulevard, the movie, doesn't have an end. I mean, technically it does, but who's to say what happens right after Norma Desmond comes creeping up to the camera?
I can definitely say that we didn't even talk about the opening. Like, it does open with a guy who's dead in the pool, who we find out is the main character, Joe, I believe his name was.
Oh, Joe, yeah.
I can tell you that every writer has envisioned narrating their own death at some point.
That's an intriguing. Please elaborate on that one.
It's just, well, in stories you write, you always have to get inside someone's head. So I can imagine there's definitely some writers who have, if they write a death scene, they'll imagine, okay, what's going through the character's head through this, and Sunset Boulevard plays with that a bit. So,
do you imagine narrating your own death?
Well, if my death was more exciting, like Joe's, I'd probably look in slow motion, like the bullet coming towards you. It's like, oh, this is the end, racing towards me. You know, that kind of thing.
I get that. I get that, I suppose. I mean, yeah.
Like how your whole life flashes before your eyes.
Yeah. I guess when you are writing death scenes, you have to kind of think about what is going through a human being, that, you know, the person's head you're writing about, which would naturally sometimes bring you on to, what about my own death? Oh, look, somebody's, pulled a gun on me. Oh no, I'm going to die. I'm dead.
It is kind of a beautiful image, though, like just that body floating in the pool.
Oh, the entire movie is beautiful.
Cinematography on point. Beautiful
in the most grim way. Beautiful in the sense of sadness. It's quite a sad movie, really.
You could say it's a bit macabre, maybe, but
it's macabre. It's melancholy.
Yeah.
Norma Desmond herself is perhaps one of the most melancholy characters you're ever likely to come across, because she's very, very happy being in solitude. She's very, very happy being on her own, doing what she wants to do. And yes, she might be a bit sad, but she keeps telling herself, for example, I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
Exactly, sometimes what artists feel like.
Exactly.
I won't say I related to Norma Desmond as much because I don't know.
You're not a past it faded movie star.
Not yet, anyway.
You're a upcoming creator. You're not a long past it creator.
I hope I never get to the stage of Norma Desmond. Which, by the way,
I should hope no one truly ever gets to the stage of Norma Desmond.
Which is kind of a cool name, now that I think about it. Just sounds like a cool character name.
It's a very old Hollywood name. Norma, come here, Norma.
You sound like Mother from Psycho.
Hey, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, though. No, because she's called Norma. So that's actually what I was thinking of. Norman, what are you doing?
I wouldn't be surprised.
That was a terrible impression.
I wouldn't be surprised if Norma Desmond does have those things, because even you can see throughout the movie she's kind of losing touch with reality.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she's kind of gone right from the word go when she invites Joe into her bedroom to look at her dead chimp.
Oh, yeah, and
because she thinks he's the Undertaker. And we're all led to presume it's a human being, and it's a monkey.
Ugh, God, it's just
so
like
you can tell right from the word go that Norman's not at all there. But like I said, she's happy. She's happy as she is. So is it? You can't say it's wrong, or I can't personally say it's wrong. Nothing's right and wrong.
She seems to me what I'd consider an introverted extrovert.
Oh, hello. Let's get into that.
She's
an introverted extrovert.
She's very much in her own world and doesn't want anyone bothering her, but she also likes being the center of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. She loves the one scene and the one sort of shot that I love more than anything, more than most, in Sunset Boulevard is when it's towards the sort of middle to end of the movie when she goes and visits Cecil B. DeMille at Paramount Studios, and she sits down, and the guy who she knew when she used to actually make movies there, who was doing the lighting, and he turns the big spotlight onto her, and she's just sat there, and just you just see the light just start to just shine on her, and then everyone's just like, it's Norma Desmond, and everybody runs up to her, and you just can see she's so loving it. She's loving every second of that, and it's Norma's dream at that point. It's Norma's fantasy. That entire scene, really, at Paramount, when she believes that she's gonna make a new movie with DeMille, who she used to make a load of movies with. When it turns out that DeMille just actually wants her car for a scene, he wants to rent the car. He doesn't really want her, but he doesn't have the heart to tell her either. But she's there. She's there doing that. And all the people come up, and she's absolutely loving that. And then DeMille says something. DeMille says the line, like, he calls up to the guy who's doing the lighting and says, "Okay, turn that light back to where it belongs."
Yikes.
On the scene. That's what he's referring to. Just like, yeah, forget about Norma. Maybe that's the dark side of being in that industry in LA, is that once you're gone, you're gone.
Can you think of many even older film stars now who are as popular as they were back in their prime?
I mean, no. That's why they call it a prime. Because you're never better when you're in your prime. And there's a lot of older movie stars now that try and do strange things. I mean, they don't lock themselves up like Norma Desmond. But I don't know. That's why since the turn of the millennium, you've seen De Niro do comedy after comedy after comedy after comedy.
Which is not really his strength.
It's not. But it's. I'd rather him do that than him turn into Norma Desmond.
I mean, De Niro becoming like basically the characters he plays would be quite terrifying.
Yeah, it would. It'd be unpredictable people. People should, but yeah. Again, I keep coming back to the fact that I can't say it's wrong what Norma's doing.
There's an interesting element to her being a silent film star that I noticed, because she mentions a few things about the script she's writing is like, look, we don't even need dialogue, we just need our faces. And that could kind of speak to the whole idea that people who consume these movies don't want to hear what you have to say, they just want to see you acting. Which is kind of cynical, but I mean, it works.
It's also, on a more literal sense, is that when she was making movies, she never knew dialogue. She never had to do anything like that. That wasn't what movies were. DeMille in the film tells her the pictures have changed a lot, Norma, or something. I'm paraphrasing, but he says something like that. She doesn't have she never responds to that. But yeah, she thinks very much like that. She is, fully convinced that if her face is seen, then everyone will love it, and that she needs nothing else, despite the fact that she wrote a horrendously long and allegedly not very good script.
Yeah, don't write scripts that length.
Probably because it had no dialogue in it. It was just a 17-hour silent movie. Wasn't good, Norma. It wasn't good.
There's something I was told by a screenwriter I met. If your first script is over 120 pages, you have to do some editing.
Well, that seems quite long, doesn't it?
If you consider it as a page is a minute of screen time, then it helps you figure out what your movie's
Is that the general rule?
Generally, yes, unless there can be differences, like if one page has a very obnoxiously long sequence. But
are you one for obnoxiously long sequences?
When they work, but sometimes they can just feel like directors jerking themselves off.
Much like Norma Desmond.
That's a horrifying image.
It's not a horrifying. Let her do what she wants. She's happy. I keep saying, I can't get that out of my head. I can't get just this different idea I have about her and her way of life from this, I think, third time I've seen it, from this time around. Whereas I always just considered her completely crazy.
Yeah, and
but watching it today, she didn't seem as crazy.
You can even say that about the writers, because writers are not popular in Hollywood at all, unless your name's Aaron Sorkin or something like that.
Nobody. That's the old. It's the old saying nobody's ever heard of the writers, and certainly nobody's ever seen their faces.
Nope, unless they're even Charlie Kaufman and Aaron Sorkin, people wouldn't know what they look like.
No, I couldn't tell you what they look like. I could tell you the names, but I couldn't tell you what they look like.
It's kind of interesting because Norma's kind of like the actress, and she wants people just to see her, but the writer character wants people to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. It's the nice sort of dual. It's the nice place. It's why they play so well against each other. It's why, and the weird attraction that Norma has towards him as well, because now I see that as Norma looking at him as someone who hasn't entirely, it's sort of like a youth thing. He's not young by any means.
No, definitely
but
not.
I feel like in Norma's own head, she feels very old.
She doesn't look that old.
I don't know how old Gloria Swanson was.
She looks
when
about
Sunset Boulevard came out.
mid-30s.
I will have a look now how old Gloria Swanson was when Sunset Boulevard came out, but I mean I don't know how old Norma was supposed to be, because presumably her heyday was the 20s, and this is set in, the late 40s.
Well, presumably people don't want to move on from what they know, do they?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Norma's 50. Norma Desmond's 50.
She's a
because
very
Max,
young-looking 50-year-old.
Yeah, Gloria Swanson was, about 50 years old when Sunset Boulevard came out, when she was filming Sunset Boulevard.
I believe this movie won a lot of Academy Awards as well, which that always happens for movies that are about Hollywood.
Does it always happen?
Shape of Water just won Best Picture and Best Director, didn't it?
Was The Shape of Water about Hollywood?
Yeah, there's that sequence where it's like showing off how beautiful movies are and stuff. Hollywood loves that kind of thing.
Hollywood loves Hollywood. That is true.
And even going back to things like movies like Birdman, which are really about actors and that, they love this kind of stuff.
Do you know what the most intriguing part about Sunset Boulevard is?
What is that?
Is that Norma Desmond is essentially Gloria Swanson. Gloria Swanson is Norma Desmond.
Do elaborate on that, because I don't know anything about Gloria Swanson.
Gloria Swanson hadn't made a movie in 10 years. She was huge in the early 30s and the 20s. She was a silent film star who did transfer into talking pictures. But, and I've got it here, between 1934 and Sunset Boulevard in 1950, she made one movie. She's playing herself. She's playing an insane version of herself.
I really love it when actors do that.
Which is why this performance still gets so much acclaim. And it's a terrifyingly good performance. It's impressive.
And I believe we've gotten to the stage where we can talk about the ending, because it's my favourite part of the movie.
Yeah, go for it.
We find out that Norma Desmond is the one that killed Joe.
Yes.
All these police and reporters are coming, and she thinks it's like setting a scene. I don't know if the final moment is in her head or not.
That's something I've never thought about before.
Because, I don't think police would do that.
Look, I don't think it's in her own head. I just think that her and obviously Max, whether you want to refer to him as the butler or her first husband or whatever other title he may go by, obviously used to be a huge director in the 20s when Norma was a big star, and he married her, but she basically manipulated him enough to keep him just doing things for her. And he's all the police and everyone are in, but he's very much also playing to stage this finale as a scene, because he just wants to see her. All he wants is to see her happy. And ultimately, at the end, she is very happy.
And then you get that very famous quote at the end.
And you get the very famous quote at the end. She's perfectly ready for a close-up.
Yeah, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
And then creeps towards the camera like, I'm back.
Because, now she'll be famous because of a controversy.
Well, now she'll be well, yeah. But to Norma Desmond, fame is fame. Norma Desmond, I don't think, cares how people know her as long as people know her.
Which kind of plays into the whole tragic element of this story.
It's,
LA can be glamorous, but there's also do you become a different person through it?
That's what I'm saying. This
do you
was a
lose
really...
yourself?
Well, sometimes you find yourself.
You can find yourself, you can lose yourself, all on the streets of LA.
I'm not saying if you... Look, take my experience of being in LA for the last couple of months.
Where he murdered a man.
As what LA's like, and where I can't be more positive about it if I tried. Or watch Sunset Boulevard and take that as what, that industry in LA's like.
It's very much
Pick
like
one.
that.
Do you want to live positively or do you want to live negatively?
Well, I think the obvious answer would be to live positively, but sometimes
Well,
you
then
can't
listen
have
to
control
me.
about that.
No, you can't. That is very true. It's why I'm so, happy and fortunate that I got to have as good a time as I got to have. And it's also why I picked Sunset Boulevard.
It's a really good one to come back to.
Just to see a contrast. Just for myself. I mean, obviously, it's... To you, this is essentially just watching a movie about LA and thinking of it like that. But I got back 2 days ago. And the contrast is insane. At least from my own personal experience. And I can only go off my own personal experience.
So would you say this is a very accurate depiction of LA, or just like a sort of fantasized version of it?
It's not an accurate depiction of my experience. Though there are undoubtedly parts of this that are very, very true. Because they'd have to be. Nowhere's perfect. Nowhere's perfect and nowhere's just awful all the time. There is elements to this that's true. It's just a very... To watch it all is just a very sort of... Oh God, this place can be damaging to people. But then I could make a... Well, look at La La Land. Let's compare it to La La Land.
I was going to think, what's the modern version of this story?
Well, you watch Sunset Boulevard and you think, oh God, LA can damage people. And then you look at La La Land and you think, oh God, LA can make people so unbelievably content. And it's just a huge... It just depends on what you want to watch. It just depends on what you want to feel about a certain place. Because everybody, I'm sure, has preconceived judgments on anywhere.
Kind of interesting that you pick La La Land, because the guy at the beginning mentioned, let's make it a musical. Let's make it happier. But even La La Land has that kind of tragic element at the end. So that would be a good double feature.
Look, definitely it does. I think it would be a good double feature, actually.
I actually got La La Land on Blu-ray for quite cheap, so...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's... how cheap? Cheap?
It was on eBay for like £4.
Oh, very cheap. Fair enough, well done.
Mm-hmm.
Applause.
eBay is great for Blu-rays. Please get your Blu-rays off then.
Please get your Blu-rays off it. Is it trustworthy, though?
Very. All the Blu-rays I've gotten all work perfectly. They all look great.
Can't argue with that, then. Cannot argue with that, can you? What are some of your other sort of... I don't want to say favourite necessarily, standout elements to Sunset Boulevard for you?
Really, for me, it's the whole contrast between what it's like to be a star and what it's like to make a star, because I think that's kind of what the writers and actors do. Like, ideally, the best writers can bring out the best of actors, and actors can make certain writing sound incredible. Like, I'll use this as an example because I heard it quite a lot. That line in Attack of the Clones, I don't like sand.
Yes.
With a different actor and a different tone who does that line, that could have been a great line. It all matters on execution.
What is wrong with Attack of the Clones? There's absolutely nothing wrong with Attack of the Clones. I can quote the entirety of Attack of the Clones.
Of course you can.
Well, of course I can. Why would I not be able to?
What I'm saying though is that it takes a certain person to bring out the best of both of them. Like you can have lines that sound very cheesy, but from a certain delivery can sound scary. It's an interesting look at Hollywood and what it can do to people, how it can change them, and clearly for you, like how it can contrast with your own experience. So I would definitely recommend this to anybody who hasn't seen it. There's a lot of movies nowadays I could compare it to. La La Land's one. I think another one could be Birdman. Like looking at the fallen actor and what that does to you.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Basically any movie about Hollywood, you could compare it with Sunset Boulevard.
Well, you could, but I think this one's got a particularly special element to it, not least of because Gloria Swanson is essentially playing herself, or a very overly elaborate version.
That's just
herself.
Like what Keaton did in Birdman. He was basically playing himself.
Exactly the same. Billy Wilder, of course, everybody knows Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder never put a foot wrong in any film he made.
Did Gloria Swanson go on to do like another? You did say, was she a silent film star before?
Yeah.
Did she go on to make any more silent films after this?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so.
Because after Keaton played Birdman, he went on to be the Vulture, so that would be a cool comparison.
Yes, he did. Constantly playing people that can fly is Michael Keaton. Isn't he? Yes, he is. But no, this one, again, not least because Gloria Swanson is essentially playing herself, and Billy Wilder, but it's just such a beautiful... I've never seen a more melancholy film.
That's like the perfect word to describe this.
Because it's so sad, but you're also kind of happy for everyone while you're watching it because they themselves are actually content a lot of the time.
You know what the sad thing about Sunset Boulevard is for me, but also kind of the happy thing? This is something I was going to mention towards the end.
Okay.
After Joe's death, I bet all of his old scripts got picked up.
Yeah, probably. Just because he was a name. Just because he was a name at that point. That's definitely probably true. People would have known his name then and said, "Oh, that dead guy wrote this script. Let's pick that up." It's like, great. That's like, yeah.
And I just picture when they're interviewing the studio, like, yeah, we always loved his work, but there was never a moment we could do it.
That is exactly what happened. Oh, don't get me wrong. I think people in LA are nice to you because they want to work with you and they want to see what you can do for them. But then they're also doing stuff for you. I think that's why people are nice to you, but people are also genuine about it. People don't just expect things.
They want to take away your car and stuff. It's just... I don't know if I'd want to live in LA just yet. Maybe when I've got a more stable life, but it's definitely something to think about.
I don't think LA is the place for a stable life. I don't want a stable life. Who wants a stable life? Who wants stability and boringness?
I want to be able to have a mix, like be able to do what I want to do, and then also be able to live and pay bills and stuff.
Well, yeah, but yeah, fun is just more fun, though.
Very true, and I
fun
might even get to experience what you experienced next year if I take on more shifts at work.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, sure. I would push anyone to do it if they want to do it, because at least try. You don't know if you don't try. You never know anything if you don't try.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the case with anything. That's not just the case with this. That's like, try a new piece of food. You don't know if you don't try.
Try sushi for the first time.
Exactly.
I don't know. I can't think of any more outrageous foods.
Is sushi an outrageous food?
For people in Scotland, it is.
Well, that's probably true. Scotland. God damn it, Scotland. Ruining things as always.
Indeed.
Maybe not as always. But no, I mean, that's why I wanted to pick Sunset Boulevard. That's why I wanted to watch it again, and that's why I wanted to talk about it a bit. Because it's such a contrast to what I have experienced for the last 2 months.
And above all, it's just a great movie.
Above all, it is a great movie. That is true. Above all, it's a movie that knows exactly what it's doing, does it so horrendously successfully, and leaves you right at the end not being able to get it out of your head, and you can't ask more from a movie than that. A movie is wonderful when it's worth talking about.
Definitely. And you said that this choice was hilarious because of you. What we're doing next week is going to be even more hilarious.
What are we doing next week?
Well, over summer, I was struggling to look for creative inspiration, so I watched this documentary that James Cameron did about how sci-fi evolved, what it was back then, what it is now, and I figured, why don't we check out the original War of the Worlds?
Why don't we check out the original War of the Worlds? We haven't done a weird 50s sci-fi film.
Yeah, and there's also that upcoming thing the BBC is doing with it, so it's quite timely as well.
What's that?
The BBC, I believe, is doing a mini-series on War of the Worlds.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. I think it's a very good choice. I've never seen the original War of the Worlds.
I haven't either, so it'll be a first time for both of us.
It will be a fun, silly 50s sci-fi film. That's probably not even that silly. It's probably legitimately great.
Definitely.
I remember before I ever watched The Day the Earth Stood Still, I assumed it was a bit of a silly 50s sci-fi film. And it's really not.
Well,
it's a really serious political film with a bit of science fiction in there.
Which I hope War of the Worlds is, because monster version is iconic.
I mean, it probably... War of the Worlds is probably going to be, the same thing. Of course it is. The book itself is very politically charged. But you think of 50s sci-fi and you think of nonsense for the most part.
A lot of B-movie stuff.
A lot of B-movies, but this isn't one of the B-movies.
Ironically, there was a B-movie released in theaters this weekend, The Predator. Yikes.
Oh, God's sake. Yeah, let's not even go there.
Probably a good idea.
Let's not even bother.
So have you been doing anything besides making friends with LA people this past month?
Well, that's essentially all I've been doing. I've just done a lot of stuff. I'm not going to get into it now because we'd be here for another 2 hours, to be honest, if I was to tell you about all this wonderful, wonderful stuff I have done. But for everyone and anyone who is interested, yeah, it's just all been so wonderful. I've met so many wonderful people. They all know who they are. And I appreciate them all, and it's just set my mind on wanting to go back permanently, and that I'm going to do that very, very soon.
Well, good on you, man. I hope you get that.
I couldn't have asked for anything more, which is just wonderful. And I actually stayed very close to Sunset Boulevard for quite a while.
Did you do the thing where you walk along, like, I don't know, you go, I know there's some hill in LA people go to just to look at the city at night?
I didn't do too much touristy stuff. However, something you did like is, like, in the first week I was there, I did go up to the observatory.
Of course, that sounds incredible.
And they've actually got a little plaque and bust of James Dean up there.
Well, I'm coming to LA like right now. I'm booking my tickets. I'm going there. Forget school. I'm gonna go and see that James Dean statue.
Exactly. It's more fun. Yay. Do it.
But something did happen that was pretty cool this summer. Well, two things actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing that. In the meantime, you were doing.
I was in Cyprus with my parents, and
yes, you were.
I spoke about this on the Monday show with Troy and that the other day. I was out on the balcony smoking a cigarette at 4 a.m., which you hate. Then I get a little.
I'm past judging anyone at the minute. I'm way past judging anyone.
Then I got a little email from my dream agent regarding that book I wrote called Moonflower.
Oh, that one. I've heard of that.
Oh, yeah. See, in the book industry, sometimes you get something called a revise and resubmit.
Yes.
Which means we liked certain things of what you did, but we think it might be better if you do this. And thinking about it, it actually made the story a lot stronger. So I've got a revise resubmit for Moonflower from my dream agent. That just means she really loves what I did. She wants to make it better. So I've been working on rewrites for that. But basically what it boils down to is I'm on my way to becoming a published writer, y'all.
Exactly. And it's wonderful. And we need a huge applause. If we had like a proper sound engineer for this show, this is where the applause sound bite would be. So I just have to do this instead.
Well,
it's great.
I
it's just it's one step closer to doing what you want to do. We're both one step closer to doing exactly what we want to do. So it's all wonderful. We're all very happy right now. It truly is a wonderful podcast.
I love that you took that in there. And speaking of us being closer, what's happening next month?
Oh, are we getting into this now?
Well, we might as well. I've already booked
you've brought it up now. Get on with it. Say away.
Well, when I got back to Scotland, I did 2 shifts so I could have some money, and I figured, fuck it, I'm going to go down to Manchester.
Woo!
So me and Morgan are going to finally meet each other for the first time in person.
Shock horror to anybody who didn't know that, who actually listens to this.
I know Raoul is celebrating about it.
Raoul is celebrating like a madman about it.
But yeah, I'll be staying with him for 8 days. I'm very excited that we get to go see Halloween together, because that's my most anticipated movie of the year.
And yeah, it's going to be very, very fun. Be prepared to do a lot of stuff, because I don't. If someone comes and visits me, I take them everywhere. This should be great. I'm very much looking forward to doing that. It's just another reason to love what's happening at the minute. That you're getting down here as well.
How long has this taken us? We've known each other like what, 2
years?
years?
I mean, it's taken a long time. Look, it's taken a long time, but it's happening now. So that's all we have to care about.
What came out October last year? Because I'm thinking what movie we would have seen last year.
Probably nothing.
Only thing I can think of is that Orient Express remake.
Oh.
Which no one wants to remember.
Yeah, probably nothing, that's what I'm saying.
So it's just as well coming out around Halloween time.
Oh, it'll be great. It'll be absolutely perfect. Nolan's coming down here soon. Next week, we're doing War of the Worlds. This week, we did Sunset Boulevard right after I came back from Sunset Boulevard. It's a wonderful one. He's back up and running after the summer little break thing that was a bit longer than we thought it would be. Blame me for that one. Legitimately, entirely blame me for that one.
Okay, I will. I won't. I'm kidding. I love you, buddy.
What did you want to say?
So 2 news stories as lessons also came out in the summer. One on The Shining, which everyone knows my stance on, but
That is true.
I didn't want to be a cliche about that and just rail on it because no one wants to read that. So it's weird. There's a weird narrative in that video where it's like I'm finally accepting that there won't be a Shining that's like the book, but I'm embracing them both. And then
Good. That's the best way.
Me and Billy were talking about this last night. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I kind of fell in love with Edward Scissorhands for some weird reason.
Yeah. And this it seems to have come out of slightly nowhere, and you've not shut up about it for a little bit.
Yeah, so I did a video.
And it's a good
on
thing,
that.
I suppose, but yeah. Nothing wrong with Edward Scissorhands, is there?
That's actually one of the movies I got on Blu-ray from eBay. And you know how much it was?
£4.
£3.50.
£3.50. Which, yeah. You can't argue with these eBay Blu-rays, can you?
No, I mean...
You're so excited about it. Look at you. If
I went to buy that in HMV, it would have cost me like 20 quid.
You are so excited about eBay Blu-rays. eBay Blu-rays is going to become a thing. What eBay Blu-rays has Nolan bought this month?
Oh, I mean, there was Edward Scissorhands,
There's so
Infinity
many.
War, Godzilla, Big, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club.
So many eBay Blu-rays. I love it so much. Anyway, we all know what we're doing in the future of It's a Wonderful One. We're doing War of the Worlds next week. And, yeah, what is coming after that will be said when it arrives, because that's usually what happens on podcasts, isn't it? I think that's what happens on podcasts. I've forgotten how to podcast. Clearly,
I will send you the book Podcasting for Dummies.
Please don't. Clearly, I have forgotten how to podcast, but never fear. We are back. We are more determined than ever, and we are loving doing It's a Wonderful Podcast for all the good people. And with that, we are now also we've changed up the podcast feeds. Is that you can still find the show on Apple Podcast. If you are on Android, you can get it on Stitcher. And we've changed the hosting site to PodBean. So go on over to all of these places, search for It's a Wonderful Podcast, give it the ratings, the good ratings, the 5-star ratings. Because I'm a 5-star man, goddammit.
That's probably the most you will ever get to Morgan complimenting himself.
Well, that was a joke. Oh, it was a little It's Always Sunny reference there for those who are so inclined. But yeah, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, PodBean. We are still on YouTube as well, but the main focus is going to be on those podcast audio only feeds, because YouTube's dying, in case you weren't aware. So yeah, that's I mean that's a sad part, and I'm just rambling now, but go on over to those podcast feeds and give it those high ratings, the 5-star ratings, and maybe leave a little comment saying how much you love the show and how much you love the fact that me and Nolan are actually going to meet each other, which, you know, will seem strange for everyone. I'm very, very sure about that. Nolan, anything else?
As always, you can find me at NolanDean27. You can find me on YouTube at Nolan Dean. You can find this show at It's a Wonderful One. You can find it on It's a Wonderful Podcast on YouTube and all these different things. And also, if you have the money to spare, you can go and treat yourself to that brand new Spider-Man game.
Oh, yes, you can. That is true. I have seen a bit of... I have seen someone playing that. It looks pretty good, to be fair.
I bought it the other week, and it's up there with the Arkham series. It's
really?
That good.
That good. Okay.
And it came with a little free Doc Ock Funko, which is just guarding my PS4 right now.
That's nice. That's impressive. Up with the Arkham games, because I'm not a gamer. I'm no gamer, but I do love the Arkham games. Fair enough. Go and buy the Spider-Man game as well, and go and buy a It's a Wonderful Podcast T-shirt in any colour you so desire.
Can I get it in rainbow?
Maybe when it's Pride Month, you could get it in rainbow, because TeePublic might do a little special thing. That's all I'm thinking. I don't work for TeePublic, I don't know. But go on over to teepublic.com/G9design and pick up your It's a Wonderful Podcast t-shirt. Or phone case. Or laptop case. Or notepad. Or cap.
Speedos. Or swimming
or
trunks.
Sweater.
No
Not Speedos.
No one wants It's a Wonderful One Speedos.
Nobody wants Speedos. That's just... What a weird way to end the show. Anyway, guys, find me at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the, because Patrice Evra. Or just at the Purple Don with no 3 on Instagram. The first one was Twitter. I can't remember if I said that. I have truly forgotten how to podcast. Or find the show at It's a Wonderful One on the Twitters as well. Nolan, do you want to see us out?
And until next time, guys, goodbye.
Bye.